So what we're going to show you here, Lee Effect is just going to show you some of the depowdering process. One of the important things we should probably mention about this machine is that all of the loose powder that we either remove or hoover away is actually recycled. We don't waste any of the powder. All of the powder goes back into the machine. So we literally have zero waste, other than a bit that may spill on the floor. So what Lee's doing here is taking the part, now it's finished printing. The part's still quite soft at this stage because it hasn't been infiltrated. But once we can't infiltrate the part, the simpler parts, floppier parts, more solid parts, we can go there pretty heavy, pretty strong. When you're happy that part's connected, just bring it out so the guys can see. As I say, at this stage, it's unfinished. You'll see the colours are a little bit duller. Until we infiltrate that part, it won't get its vibrancy and it won't actually go, become a very solid piece. And now, probably from here, is probably a good time to show you a little bit of infiltration. I think it's worth mentioning that at this stage, normally when we do this, we won't have people in the This glue, the way that Lee's applied now, is not particularly bad. Okay, but sometimes we wouldn't do it this way. But for the purpose of, there might be so much fume kick up as well.
From the last one.
Yeah. Unless I tell it different. What Lee's doing here, you probably heard us sort of say infiltration, which is effectively how we finish a part. So effectively what he's doing is drizzling a very fine super glue, a very thin super glue. We call it cyanoacrylate. And this will actually harden the part. This will make the part a lot more manageable, handleable. A lot of our clients, architectural-based companies, would probably get on a plane with a part to, Abu Dhabi or Dubai or something like that. So the part has to be able to be transported. Obviously, if it's too fragile, it will just break by the time they get there. There's different techniques we could use to finish. Sometimes we spray. Sometimes, if it's a very solid part, we might dip it, or we might use a technique like this where we drizzle the part. And again, it's up to the operator, the user that actually is producing the part here. He'll choose which is the best method for the particular part. We can't necessarily apply the same technique to all parts. If they're more fragile parts, we'll probably spray them so we don't have to handle the part as much. If it's a very solid model, very sort of manageable, we'll probably dip it. So we'll fill a small container with the cyanoacrylate and we'll dip it. It's very quick. It actually, when we dip a part, the actual infiltrant goes in a lot further as well. It penetrates the model further, so it actually probably makes the part a lot stronger. When we spray a part, of course, it sits more on the outside, so it kind of gives it a crispy coating. It doesn't penetrate as far. So again, we will use a different technique for different parts, depending on what the application the actual end user wants it for, the client wants it for, and what he or she is going to do with it. This process, so Lee obviously will run the infiltrant over the part. We'll probably, once he's finished, the part will probably leave for somewhere in the region of about half an hour to 45 minutes to dry, and then once it's dried, it's ready to go. Lee, we could probably show here, what we have here is a finished article. So once Lee's finished infiltrating the part there, what you can actually see is that when we removed the part from the machine, it was quite dull, it still had a powder look, but by the time we finished and we glued the part, the colours become very vibrant and the part becomes very solid. That part now you could stick in the post, you could put in a box and send wherever you like, or take on a plane with you. Glue will stick to things. What we use here, obviously we're using a sheet which has got a surface which the glue doesn't stick to. So this is why we here we use we may use a box, we might use a container. The glue will stick to other things, but once it's dried, of course, it's fine. So we have to be a bit careful where we put it. Something that, again, is probably important to mention is once we finish this process, and once we physically create the 3D part like you've seen here, and this is finished, you now can do a whole range of applications for this. You could paint this part, you could spray paint it, you could electroplate it, you can dip it in metallic, all sorts of finishes. So the post process now, you can do a whole series of things with.
Yeah, because it's good material.
So someone, if this was a tap, for example, someone was like trying to build a prototype of a tap, but they wanted it to have a metallic finish, this would have necessarily given the finished article, the physical parts there, but they then would go and spray it, dip it, electroplate it, I don't know, whatever they chose to do with it.